You're listening to American Medicine Today, presented by the Bonati Spine Institute, featuring the internationally acclaimed inventor of the Bonati spine procedures, Alfred Bonati, MD. Once again, here are Dr. Bonati and your host, Kimberly Bermel.
Well, thank you for joining us for American Medicine Today. I am Kimberly Bermel, joined by our radio executive producer, Ethan Euchre.
Glad to be here.
And we have our senior fellow and friend, Jeff Wagstaff.
Good day.
And across from me, we have world-renowned orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Alfred Bonati of the esteemed Bonati Spine Institute. Thanks for sharing your time with us.
Thank you.
You know, I always think about what I'm going to say in the shows. And, you know, it's disturbing to me because one of the things that we see as a continued theme when we talk to our guests is the fact that they were told either invasive procedures are their only option, or not even those invasive procedures will help them, and they'll just be exchanging one pain for another, or their motion is going to be disturbed, sometimes in excess of 70% limitation in mobility. That's crazy business. That is particularly why we do the show, specifically why we do the show, because at the Bonati Spine Institute, Dr. Bonati created and patented his own methods to not only remove hardware from people's backs, but also the way to target the spine. He doesn't look at all his patients like they're on a conveyor belt. Oh, yep, you're good for surgery. You're good for surgery. You don't get that there. You get it at many other places. And what's different about the Bonati spine procedures is they are targeted to each specific individual. Not only are they targeted, but when it comes to that pain resolution, they have pinpoint accuracy. And we're at a 98.75% patient-reported success rate. Not just success, like, hey, you know, we performed a surgery and all went well, and they washed their hands of it. Not at the Bonati Spine Institute. What they do is they get the feedback from the patients themselves. So these are true stories. We have an exciting show lineup today. We have Dr. Jesse Selber with the University of Texas MD Anderson Cancer Center, where they recently performed the first successful multi-organ and skull-scalp transplant.
This is one of the biggest procedures that has basically ever taken place in this country. There was like a team of over 50 surgeons and just nurses helping out.
4 years to plan this.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. They transplant a part of his skull and scalp, including his kidneys and his pancreas, all at once. It was quite a team effort, first of its kind, so we'll talk to him about it.
Yeah, it'll be exciting to hear about. Then we have Dr. Wayne Iverson, a San Diego physician and co-founder of the Doctors' Tea Party, on the show to discuss specifically the continued efforts by physicians to repeal Obamacare. So I'm sure this will be a lively discussion. And then, of course, we're going to have an expert from Bay News 9 to discuss the Republican debate yesterday on Fox News Channel.
That'll be another lively one, I'm sure.
It certainly will. I know I have lots to discuss. But up first,
In today's Back to Life segment, we will talk to a patient of the Bonati Spine Institute who went from living a life that was restricted by pain and discomfort through their journey of finding the Bonati Spine Institute and are now living pain-free.
well, it is my pleasure to have our in-studio guest, Larry Jackson from Bradenton, Florida. Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, you have such an interesting story to tell. So why don't you tell us how the onset of pain first occurred and kind of walk us through the process of how you found the Bonati Spine Institute?
Oh, sure. I think, and again, thank you for having me on this show, and you know, thank you for Dr. Bonati for being here, and you know, for everything you've done for me. It's huge. But I will say, you know, where this all started for me. I own a youth sports organization, so we serve about 3,000 kids every year playing sports, flag football, soccer, things like that. There's a lot that goes into all of that work.
Certainly.
You know, a lot of things to carry, setting up fields, you know. So for me, how this happened after a number of years of doing this business, taking just simply something I've done a million times.
Right.
Taking a water cooler, water and Gatorade off the back of my truck and just twisted wrong and boom. Now, mind you, I've spent my entire life boxing, bodybuilding, doing a lot of weights, doing
Very
a lot of
active.
stuff.
So you're not some schlub. You're in good shape, and
My whole life. I've been working out since I was 8 years old. So, I mean, you know, this just happened. And I was in good shape even when this happened. So, you know, to say that is to say it can happen to anybody.
Sure.
And was the pain immediate where you knew that something was majorly wrong?
I absolutely knew something was wrong.
Yeah.
I thought I could beat it.
Of course.
So I tried.
Because you're a man.
Yeah.
That's how we are.
I don't go to doctors. I can fix this.
Walk it off. Rub a little dirt on it. You'll
Absolutely.
be okay.
When you talk about that pain, explain it, because I'm sure there's got to be somebody out there just like you that's in that same sort of pain. Describe it for us. How did that feel?
It's crippling.
Okay.
It's crippling. I mean, when this happened to me, within a couple of weeks' time, I went from, being active, being in the gym, doing the things that I do,
right.
which is quite a lot. I used to squat 495, bench 405.
Wow.
I was big. I was
right.
very strong. Now I come out to the field, and I could not stand for 10 minutes. Wow. I've got hundreds of people walking around me doing their thing, and I'm laying on the grass.
Wow.
Because I can't, I'm talking to parents, from the grass saying, yeah, well, I'm just kind of stuck here right now, but go on, watch your kids, have a good time. And I'm trying to, encourage them to do what they do.
Wow.
Was
what
it a
they're there to do.
localized pain?
It was very, very much in the back, very much lower back, right?
It.
L4, L5, L5S1.
Okay.
So a little bit of time went by, and I went to, got some MRIs done to identify that it was a bulging disc, L4,
Sure.
L5, and L5S1.
Okay.
I tried the chiropractic route. I tried the, epidural injections.
Sure.
None of that worked. So finally, I had a friend that told me to go to, in fact, it was Laser Spine. This is a couple years ago.
Fine.
Went to Laser Spine Institute, and I went there. I did the thing, and I got off the table, and I said, you know what? I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay.
Sure.
Then a year goes by.
All right.
And I'm bad. I'm as bad as I was then. A couple more months go by, and now I'm on a cane.
Oh my God.
So not only did you regress, but you even got worse
Way
than
worse.
you were
Wow.
prior.
Wow.
I wished I had a walker. I mean,
wow.
I was that bad.
Were you limping?
I was literally, if you can't see me, I was literally walking like this.
Wow. So you weren't standing tall at that point?
No way. No
Okay.
way, no how. In fact, I spent a lot of my time laying on ice.
Okay.
Anywhere I went. In fact, it was so bad that when I would get out of, my Walmart is a mile from my house.
Right.
So for me to get in my truck, go to Walmart, get out of my truck, I had to literally lean against my truck for 10 minutes before I could actually make the walk into Walmart.
Wow.
So it took me a lot more time standing out my truck than taking the drive.
Well, what happened at that point? Obviously, you're in a tremendous amount of pain, doing way worse than you ever were when you first went there.
I said, you know what, I got to go back. So I went back, and they said, well, it looks like you injured the same area.
Right.
And I said, well, how did I do that? I didn't do anything to injure that area.
Right.
They said, well, you did.
Okay.
I didn't like the answer. My wife didn't like the answer, and I had been hearing the Bonati Spine commercials on TV, so I called there that night, and Jenna, who works there, picked up the phone. And I'm telling you, within 30 minutes, they looked at the MRI and had Dr. Bonati on the phone with me to tell me. And in fact, I said to him, I had this surgery done a year and a half ago. And he said, no, you didn't. And I said, well, yeah. So anyway, I had the surgery a year and a half ago. He said, no, you didn't. And I said, I'm looking at your MRI. There's no possible way you had the surgery.
Wow.
So I'm like, okay, I'll be there first thing in the morning. You figure this out. So he showed me exactly, on the MRIs, why it could not have been done. And, he took care of everything. And within a week, I had the surgery, and boom, I was up walking. The cane was gone immediately.
Right.
And
so you saw for yourself on the MRIs what they said they removed wasn't removed.
Absolutely. Yeah, we had prior MRIs and
so not just hearsay.
Copies.
You actually saw the evidence.
Absolutely.
Got it.
Absolutely.
And oddly enough, we've heard that a couple of times from people where they were told they had a procedure, and
quite a few times.
So
I want to spend 1 minute just in talking about Dr. Bonati. He's obviously done tons of patients, right? And to me, the biggest thing when I walked in the door at Bonati was the character of who he was and who he is, and that means more to me than anything else. Because you walk into his office and there's a plaque dedicated to his wife and another plaque dedicated to his brother. You walk into the office and there's stuff around the office of the people that he's helped over the years. This is before I ever saw Dr. Bonati in person.
Yeah.
I'm quickly learning about the character of who he is, and I meet him, and he's, a man of his word. He does everything that he says he's going to do. Mm-hmm. He puts his heart, his passion into everything that he does, and I'm really honored to be able to say this directly to you, because I don't get that opportunity in the doctor's office. It's very quick, but he knows what he's doing. He's not, and he loves what he does. He's very passionate about what he does.
Yeah.
And he doesn't like to see people in pain. Yeah. He's going to do whatever he needs to do to get people out of pain. And he committed that to me from the very beginning. He stuck with every commitment he's made, and I'm very blessed. I'm very blessed.
Larry, now tell her that you're my best friend.
No.
No.
I wish I could say that, but the truth is I haven't spent a lot of time with him other than in his office. I mean, I've never met him before then. And I'm just like I said, I've been very blessed to have had this experience. When you're going through that pain, you don't want to live.
Right.
I mean, you really don't want to live. You don't want to live like that.
You only got about a minute left,
don't.
Larry.
Why don't, in our discussion, when you knew you were coming on, you said you met with Dr. Bonati, the evaluation. Did you feel like he was able to pinpoint where your problem was coming from?
Immediately. Yeah, absolutely. Before I even talked to him. In fact, I didn't even have any words with him when he walked into the office. He looked at, he put up the MRIs, and he said, "You're having pain here, you're having pain here." As he's saying it, I'm like, yeah.
That's it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah, I am. And he's dead on.
And during surgery, did you watch? Do you remember interacting?
Yes. Yep. They absolutely. I was awake for surgery. I could see it. My wife was in there. She watched the surgery as well.
Excellent.
And
how do you feel today?
Awesome. I mean, I don't want to mess up the camera or anything. I could do jumping jacks. I could do anything.
Why don't you just flex? Show off the guns.
But honestly, I got life back. My wife is happy. My kids are happy. I'm obviously ecstatic. To be able to, be living life again, because prior to this, I wasn't living.
Yeah.
You were watching everybody from the sidelines.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Well, we're glad we helped you regain your strength and get back in motion. Thank you, Larry, for sharing your story of recovery with us.
Thank you.
Thanks for stopping by, Larry.
Thank you.
Well, you're
and
listening.
Thank you, Dr. Bonati.
Thank you, Larry. Now, remember one thing. This is guaranteed for 6 months on.
No, don't.
Why you got to ruin it, Doc?
Anyway, to summarize, you're listening to American Medicine Today. Coming up after the break, we have Dr. Jesse Selber from MD Anderson Skull and Scalp Transplant. We're going to hear more. Stay tuned. Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonati created, perfected, and patented the Bonati spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonati invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonati spine procedures, they consistently reflect over 94% patient satisfaction. 45,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Nearly half our patients suffer from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonati succeeds where others fail.
This is the first time that I am pain-free after 18 years. And it's just wonderful. I love it.
Phenomenal results. No pain whatsoever.
My pain is virtually gone. Nothing short of a miracle.
Those surgeries gave me my life back.
Already I feel like a new person.
I'm going home new. I can chase my grandbaby now. I can garden, I can cook, and I'm really thrilled. The outcome's been remarkable.
I feel 100% better.
It's like a miracle.
It was phenomenal. It literally did change my life.
I was in a wheelchair at that time, and I left here walking.
Every single pain that I had when I came here is gone.
I'm ready to go home and feel great. This place is great. Thank you.
Everything that they said they would do, they have done, and I'm very, very satisfied and happy with those results.
I knew in surgery, in fact I told the surgeon when he relieved the pain off the nerve.
The pain is gone. I'm feeling wonderful.
I have no pain. I feel better than I felt in 4 years from the surgery. It was almost immediate relief.
Today I am totally pain-free, which is just amazing. It's fantastic.
It definitely works. I mean, I really don't know what else to tell you. I'm happy.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonatti created, perfected, and patented the Bonatti spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonatti invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonatti spine procedures, they consistently reflect over 94% patient satisfaction. 45,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Nearly half our patients suffer from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonatti succeeds where others fail.
You're listening to American Medicine Today, presented by the Bonatti Spine Institute, featuring the internationally acclaimed inventor of the Bonatti spine procedures, Alfred Bonatti, MD. Once again, here are Dr. Bonatti and your host, Kimberly Brumell.
Thanks for continuing to listen to American Medicine Today. I'm Kimberly Brumell, joined by our radio friend and executive producer, Ethan Euchre.
Glad to be here, watching Doc dance over there. I don't know what he's doing.
He's doing the Peanuts dance.
I like
anyway, we have our senior fellow, Jeff Wagstaff.
Thanks for having me.
And that man over there, the dancing man,
got to get down,
world-renowned orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Alfred Bonatti.
He's enjoying
but
himself.
Look cute over there.
Why are you dancing over there, Doc? What's going on?
He's having fun.
Well, I'm listening and Megyn Kelly in the debate.
You're still.
Oh well,
we'll get into that.
We'll get into that.
Later.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But joining us right now is Dr. Jesse Selber with the University of Texas MD Anderson Cancer Clinic, where they recently performed the first successful multi-organ skull scalp transplant ever done. So thank you for being here, Dr. Selber.
My pleasure.
Now, this was pretty remarkable surgery involving a massive team of surgeons and staff. Tell us first, Dr. Selber, about the patient and what his condition was prior to this.
Sure. Well, I first met James Boysen, who was the patient at MD Anderson, in 2011, and he had presented with a large scalp and skull wound, which was related to the treatment of a rare scalp cancer called a leiomyosarcoma. And he had undergone multiple resections and recurrences and then radiation therapy, and that left him with a fairly complex and severe wound through his scalp all the way through his skull down to the brain.
Now, we were talking about this right before we went on the air, and Jeff, you had a question about this.
Yeah, I remember seeing the news coverage, and they just said that he had a really rare form of cancer, but none of the news stories ever spoke to how that cancer affected the scalp and those organs.
Right. So he's a transplant patient, which is the other part of his story. But how those two things converge is that transplant patients get opportunistic neoplasms or cancers that are rare in the general population. And one of those affected him, and it's called a leiomyosarcoma. It was of the scalp. He had to get that resected, but part of the cancer treatment also involved radiation therapy, which can be harmful to the tissue and the bone. And it left him with this wound, which was part radiation and part surgical.
Wow, and the fact that he was a previous transplant, he had actually had transplants like back in the 90s, right? And then they were failing. He needed more transplants. So in order to address the wound on his head, it was like a catch-22 from what I read. Isn't that correct?
Right. So he was a type 1 diabetic, which can cause failure of the kidney pancreas, and he had transplants in the early 90s, as you mentioned. Both of those were failing, but he had also concurrently had this scalp wound, and he was not really medically cleared for transplantation because of the wound. The immunosuppressive medications cause increased risk for infection, and the transplant service didn't want to incur that risk.
Wow.
That's incredible. And so this was a surgery that was about 4 or 5 years in the making, right? Because of all the risks involved?
Yeah, for a variety of reasons. Transplantations are spontaneous events, so there has to be an appropriate donor, and they come along when the appropriate donor passes.
Right.
And so you never know when it's going to happen. So it's kind of like preparing for the Super Bowl, except you don't know when the date's going to be. So we did, enormous amounts of preparation. There were also other logistic issues related to partnering with the transplant service. And, you mentioned that this was an MD Anderson project. This was also a collaboration very deeply with Methodist Hospital. They were the transplant service, and they provided enormous coordination and expertise in this project, so they should be given full credit too.
Dr. Iverson, there has to be a tremendous...
Dr. Selber.
We read a world of information prior to you coming on the air about all of the preparation and the different surgical teams, but it had to create a very unique challenge, is that you're ready to go, but then you're waiting for a donor. What's that like once you get the notice people could be scattered, holidays. How does that work once you get the notice to get everything together? Because I realize you have to operate pretty quickly.
Now it's go time.
Yeah, well, I mean, as a surgeon, you're used to a certain amount of real-time response to changing environments, so that's a part of our life. This was a very special circumstance, and there were a lot of people to get together. I started making phone calls right away. We had a huge phone tree. We got everybody kind of coordinated. We had pre-team, pre-surgery huddles. There was about 20 hours of coordination of care before we ever got to the operating room to actually do this. So I was on the phone for those full 20 hours, getting everything in place that I thought I needed to get this done.
I would like to know how you did the transplant on the face and on the scalp. It's just taking from the donor all this tissue, and then how when you attach the tissue vascularly and neurologically, how that responds.
Right. So this is a free tissue transfer. So anytime you transfer tissue that's more than just a cell layer thick, you have to bring a vascular supply. So the vascular supply of the scalp and skull is largely through the superficial temporal vessels. These run up in front of the ear, and these vessels can be then connected to vessels on the recipient, so on the person receiving the graft. So we harvested, we procured the flap, the scalp, and the skull with the vascular network and those source vessels all intact. That's the technically tricky part. And then it has to be brought over, and then that plumbing system essentially has to be reconnected. And the blood vessels are small, about 2 millimeters, so we connect them under the microscope with tiny sutures, and we do all that by hand.
How is he doing now?
Yeah, I saw photos. This was done, May 22nd?
Yeah.
How's he look now?
May 22nd, and he's terrific. I saw him this morning, actually. He came in for a clinic visit. He looks great. There's obviously a lot of monitoring and maintenance that has to be done because this is a transplant, and it does have the ongoing potential for rejection, just like any transplant.
And how is the sensation?
The sensation is interestingly present. So, when you surround a tissue surgically and remove it and then replace it, you cut all of the nerves, and so there theoretically should be no sensation at this early point. However, he already, and very early, did have some sensation, which was not expected. Let me just say that.
Interesting.
Wow, that's great. A 15-hour intensive surgery. Man's doing well. I hope he continues to be in good health. Thank you very much, Dr. Jesse Selber with the University of Texas MD Anderson Cancer Center, and not to mention Houston Methodist Hospital, all working together to transplant the first multi-organ skull and scalp transplant ever done.
Unreal.
So thank you.
Nice job. That was a mouthful.
Appreciate it. Have a great day,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Selber. Really, really
Thank you.
Amazing stuff.
Amazing things happen, and we're proud to be able to spotlight it here on American Medicine Today. Coming up after the break, Dr. Wayne Iverson, co-founder of the Doctor's Tea Party. It'll be interesting. Make sure you stay tuned. We'll be back.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonati created, perfected, and patented the Bonati spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonati invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonati spine procedures, they consistently reflect over 94% patient satisfaction. 45,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Nearly half our patients suffer from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonati succeeds where others fail.
This is the first time that I am pain-free after 18 years. And it's just wonderful. I love it.
Phenomenal results. No pain whatsoever.
My pain is virtually gone. Nothing short of a miracle.
Those surgeries gave me my life back.
Already, I feel like a new person.
I'm going home new. I can chase my grandbaby now. I can garden. I can cook. And I'm really thrilled. The outcome's been remarkable.
I feel 100% better.
It's like a miracle.
It was phenomenal. It literally did change my life.
I was in a wheelchair at that time, and I left here walking.
Every single pain that I had when I came here is gone.
I'm ready to go home and feel great. This place is great. Thank you.
Everything that they said they would do,
they have done, and I'm very, very satisfied and happy with those results.
I knew in surgery, in fact, I told the surgeon when he relieved the pain off the nerve.
The pain is gone. I'm feeling wonderful.
I have no pain. I feel better than I felt in 4 years from the surgery. It was almost immediate relief.
Today I am totally pain-free, which is just amazing. It's fantastic.
It definitely works. I mean, I really don't know what else to tell you. I'm happy.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonati created, perfected, and patented the Bonati spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonati invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonati spine procedures, they consistently reflect over 94% patient satisfaction. 45,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Nearly half our patients suffer from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonati succeeds where others fail.
You're listening to American Medicine Today, presented by the Bonati Spine Institute, featuring the internationally acclaimed inventor of the Bonati spine procedures, Alfred Bonati, MD. Once again, here are Dr. Bonati and your host, Kimberly Bermel.
You're listening to American Medicine Today. I am Kimberly Bermel, along with Ethan Euchre, our radio executive producer.
Happy to be here.
That man over there, Jeff Wagstaff, our senior fellow, and what I like to call Junior Mint.
Broadcasting live from the candy store.
Good Lord.
That man over there, that man is world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. Alfred Bonati at the Bonati Spine Institute.
I'm waiting for the candy.
We've been referring to him as the dancing doctor.
We have it for you, but this type of candy is going to be conversational candy.
Political
We're
candy.
here, it is, with Dr. Wayne Iverson, a San Diego physician, former congressional candidate, and co-founder of the Doctors' Tea Party. Now he's on to discuss continued efforts by physicians to repeal Obamacare. So thank you for joining us, Dr. Iverson.
Well, thank you very much for having me on.
Absolutely.
And Dr. Iverson, I know, at least as far as our show is formatted, our next segment, we're going to spend a whole segment talking about the debates that were on Thursday night. But I wanted to get your thoughts as a Tea Party guy. Any clear winners or losers in your opinion?
Yeah, Donald Trump.
Yeah.
We know who you like, Doc.
I enjoyed listening to the candidates. However, I thought that the discussion related to Obamacare and health care in our country was awful meager. They focused on other issues, and I think the thing that's the most outstanding to all Americans is the Obamacare and the Affordable Care Act and the impact it's having on us.
Agreed.
And what do you think about that, Doc? Do you think they touched upon Obamacare much, if at all?
No, not at all, and that's what I would like to talk about. I think we have a real sad state of affairs with our current healthcare system. The patients who are 65 and over on Medicare are seeing higher costs for their Medicare and supplement insurance. They're seeing reduced payments for services. The people under 65 have to buy this government-endorsed insurance plan under the Affordable Care Act with the high deductibles and copays. And people, when they go to the doctor now, they're essentially on a cash basis. Their insurance premiums have doubled, and physician payments under the Affordable Care Act doesn't cover the cost of doing business.
Correct. What can we do to repeal that?
We were talking about that, and I know Dr. Bonati. You actually, the reason I booked Dr. Iverson, Dr. Bonati, is because you've been saying for a long time that physicians need to band together to get behind this, and that's essentially what Dr. Iverson's group is doing. Your thoughts on that, Dr. Bonati?
Well, I really believe that the way that we are trying to correct this problem is totally playing the same game that the politicians and the insurance companies. So they play a great basketball game, and we are playing basketball with them. We need to play football. We need to change the type of sport, and we need to play different. What we need to do is something simple. We need to get all the physicians in the United States together, have a convention, and go and say, look, we are going to change American Medical Association because it's not a representative of us. It's a representative of insurance companies. They are politicians. They are poorly selected. They don't represent the needs of the doctors. They don't defend the doctor. It's not the proud American Medical Association of the 1950s. It's a corrupted, small type of organization. From this 80% of the physicians that they participate in American Medical Association in 1950, today is 17,000 or 17% of the physicians are, and they are not really representative of all the different specialties. So one of the important things here is doctors, they need to create an insurance company. They need to get together and they need to get straight their life. If we create an insurance company with the amount of economical power that we can develop, we can control medicine, direct medicine, remove the politicians from our life, and remove the government from our life, and have the medicine that we had before.
What are your thoughts, Dr. Iverson?
Well, I agree with all of what Dr. Bonati said, and to have the physicians have a larger voice and a larger stake in American healthcare is extremely important. And Dr. Bonati is correct. The American Medical Association has not been a very good representative for the physicians in the country. We have over 800,000 physicians in the country.
Which, Dr. Iverson, not to interrupt, but you are a member of the AMA, correct?
Well, I used to be a member, and the thing is I let my membership lapse,
right.
And so I'm no longer a member. But I used to be a member, and I was a member even during the time when Obamacare was brought in. And the reason is because I thought that I would have a stronger voice by criticizing from within rather than criticizing from without. So that's why I maintained my membership.
And that didn't work, clearly.
But I have another solution in addition to what Dr. Bonati recommended, and that's new legislation. The problem that we have in Washington is that we really need new leadership, and we need it in the three branches of government, the executive branch, the legislative branch, and in the Supreme Court. Because as you can see, with the difficulties with Obamacare, the current group of politicians in D.C. haven't made all the changes that are necessary. We can fix the healthcare system in the United States by repairing Obamacare, and we can do this by removing all of the penalties. If you remove all the penalties, and that's for personal penalties, business penalties, and employer penalties, that would essentially change the Affordable Care Act to a system which would allow a free market health insurance to flourish. The other thing we need to do is repeal the 20 new taxes that come in with Obamacare. This is a terrible burden on the American public. This takes money out of people's pocket and gives it to the government to spend, and it doesn't spend it in a judicious manner. And so we need to repeal those 20 new taxes under Obamacare. And then thirdly, the third part of the new legislation would be stop stealing funds from Medicare and to pay for Obamacare. So if we do those three things, new legislation for the Affordable Care Act, remove all the penalties, remove the 20 new taxes, and stop stealing the funds from Obamacare, this would be a really good way to get the country going in the right direction. The only other thing that I think that we would need to do in legislation would be to make a modification to the Medicare Act. You know, we had the Medicare Modification Act of 2003. We need a revision of that, and what we need to do with that revision is have true Medicare supplement insurance. Right now it only pays 10% of the Medicare allowed. They need to free that up so that the Medicare supplement pays more of the physician's fees, because the physician fees under Medicare puts a lot of doctors underwater as far as providing services, and they can't provide those services. So a true Medicare supplement insurance would be a second legislation that would be helpful. And I think if we do all those things, we can do that within 1 year, and we can get the American healthcare system back to a free market system and going in the right direction.
But, Dr. Iverson, the problem that we have is everything that you suggest is absolutely necessary and absolutely great. The problem that you have is you're dealing with the politicians, and you are dealing with a system that is stuck. Unless you do what Donald Trump did with immigration and kick the butt of the insurance companies and the politicians, this thing is not going to move. We need to get the physicians in an uproar and say, look, or you do it or we do it. And if you do it, this is the changes that we need to have. And if you don't, we will independent create an insurance company that belongs to the physicians, who will serve for the physicians and for the patients, and we remove ourselves from political arena and from commercial arena.
Yeah. Well, once again, I agree. Having a large number of physicians who are actively engaged in this process is what's required to have us be able to make these changes. But additionally, I think that you'll find the American public, your patients that come into your office, are really tired of this. They don't like these high deductibles and high premiums and high copays, and everyone is really suffering financially with all of this. And then the other thing is the evaluations are being abbreviated. People are worried about the costs of the insurance company not being happy with people getting MRIs and that. And so, yes, we need to engage the physicians. We need to engage our patient population. But we also need to engage all of the people that hold public office, because after all, you have this is a country of laws. We have to have Obamacare got to us through legislation, and if we're going to make any changes in Obamacare, regardless of what we do in the streets, it's still going to have to be through legislation. So the thing that I'm suggesting is a new legislative action to modify Obamacare is what's going to bring about the change. And I think that the problem that we have is there's a lot of people in the country, if you talk to folks, who one way or another they like Obamacare. It's probably under 50%, but it may be out of ignorance, but somehow they think that there's some kind of a safety net for them there. And the thing is I think Obamacare could be structured as a safety net. It could be like a secondary insurance for people that don't have insurance. So that would be something to take a look at and something for consideration.
Hey, Dr. Iverson, we got about a minute left. Your closing thoughts, Dr. Bernardi?
Well, I think it's too short. I'll like to talk to Dr. Iverson longer, but I still think something very important. If we don't engage the physicians, and in very, very different types of comparison, everybody's talking about that we need to build a fence between Mexico and United States, and unless somebody comes over and put really and say, I am going to build this fence or this wall, nobody moves. Patients are totally disarranged. They cannot do anything because they complain, but they don't have any political or any type of organization who is going to move them. We need to be the force to move these people. We need to be the force to confront the political system, and we need to be the force to tell the insurance company, stop robbing the patients and the doctors. If we don't do that, then politically, we're not going to solve this. We'll continue doing like the 30 years that we're building the fence in Mexico and United States, and will be a lot of polemic and nothing will happen.
All right, great points there, Dr. Bernardi. And I'd like to let you rebut as well, Dr. Iverson, but we're out of time. San Diego physician, former congressional candidate, co-founder of the Doctors' Tea Party, Dr. Wayne Iverson. Appreciate you joining us.
Thank you very much, Ethan and Kimberly and Dr. Bernardi. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And Junior.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Well, I still don't even know how they were able to defund some of Medicare and take the monies that the elderly paid into their entire lives to fund Obamacare. It's just completely repulsive. Coming up next, we have Chris Ingram, president of 411 Communications and political analyst for Bay News 9. He's going to share his thoughts on the debate. Recap for the Republican Party. Stay tuned.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bernardi created, perfected, and patented the Bernardi spine procedures. Using his genius, Bernardi invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bernardi spine procedures, they consistently reflect over 94% patient satisfaction. 45,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Nearly half our patients suffer from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bernardi succeeds where others fail.
This is the first time that I am pain-free after 18 years. And it's just wonderful. I love it.
Phenomenal results. No pain whatsoever.
My pain is virtually gone. Nothing short of a miracle.
Those surgeries gave me my life back.
Already, I feel like a new person.
I'm going home new. I can chase my grandbaby now. I can garden. I can cook. And I'm really thrilled. The outcome's been remarkable.
I feel 100% better.
It's like a miracle.
It was phenomenal. It literally did change my life.
I was in a wheelchair at that time, and I left here walking.
Every single pain that I had when I came here is gone.
I'm ready to go home and feel great. This place is great. Thank you.
Everything that they said they would do, they have done, and I'm very, very satisfied and happy with those results.
I knew in surgery, in fact, I told the surgeon when he relieved the pain off the nerve.
The pain is gone. I'm feeling wonderful.
I have no pain. I feel better than I felt in 4 years from the surgery. It was almost immediate relief.
Today I am totally pain-free, which is just amazing. It's fantastic.
It definitely works. I mean, I really don't know what else to tell you. I'm happy.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonati created, perfected, and patented the Bonati spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonati invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonati spine procedures, they consistently reflect over 94% patient satisfaction. 45,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Nearly half our patients suffer from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonati succeeds where others fail.
You're listening to American Medicine Today, presented by the Bonati Spine Institute, featuring the internationally acclaimed inventor of the Bonati spine procedures, Alfred Bonati, MD. Once again, here are Dr. Bonati and your host, Kimberly Brumell.
Thank you for joining us for American Medicine Today. I am Kimberly Brumell, joined by our friend and executive radio producer, Ethan Euchre.
Glad to be here, as always.
Junior Mint, Senior Fellow, Jeff Wagstaff.
Here I am in the candy aisle.
Where's the candy?
And that man over there, the where's the candy guy, that's world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. Alfred Bonati. Now, we're excited because we have Chris Ingram, political news analyst for Bay News 9, and he's on to give his expert analysis of yesterday's Republican debate.
What's going on, Chris?
Or
hey, good.
The
How
other
you guys
days.
Doing?
Yeah, it was Thursday night. But,
Thursday, yeah.
Yep.
It was quite an interesting show. It was definitely one of the most entertaining political debates that I've seen since I think maybe Admiral James Stockdale was running as Ross Perot's running mate in 1992, and he famously came out with his "Why am I here?" statement.
Who am I? Why am I here?
Why am I here?
Hey, Chris, it was really hard for me to pay attention to the debate because every time they hit that darn bell, my dog started barking. They thought it was the doorbell. I was like, shut up, every 5 seconds. So
they were supposed to fix that because they had so many complaints about it last year.
It was so annoying.
Yeah.
You know, prior to the debate, they talked about, because they filmed that debate where the Cleveland Cavaliers play basketball, they were going to use the NBA buzzer, but they decided against it.
Hey, Chris,
Yep.
I really thought was very disrespectful. I think it was totally a Barbie type of conversation. She was very, very unpolite.
Megyn Kelly is what he's talking about.
Calling the candidates boys and guys. I think Fox lost totally the direction of the very interesting debate. Fox put somebody who's unprepared, totally unpolite, just playing
as
like
a
little
moderator.
girl as a moderator. They need to do somebody with more class and more respect for the position. And I think it was totally uncool for her to do these questions. The questions of
Trump.
Directly to Trump, and trying to destroy his credibility and his position. The guy is a businessman. He's not a politician. He's not going to tell you a lot of BS. He's going to tell you how to correct the country. These people are so stupid that they never realize that they need to do questions to answer the possibilities that these men help the country, and instead to be supporting politicians that are the only thing going to talk from the right side of the mouth and then spit for the left side of the mouth and maintain the status quo of everything. We have 30 years in the country talking about build a wall, and nothing happened with it. But if Trump will not talk and will not make this type of statements, this statement would still be in the cans.
What do you think, Chris?
Well, I think you're certainly right. And Megyn Kelly, as a moderator, when she becomes part of the story, that's kind of a distraction. That's not her role, and I share your sentiment that it was a little inappropriate of her. But look, and not taking anything away from Megan's intellectual capacity, but because I do think she's a smart woman, but she's there for one reason, it's because she's attractive, and she played her role just fine. And I think actually people saw through what she was attempting to do, particularly at Trump, and the kind of gotcha journalism that they were engaging in the first 20 minutes of the debate. But Trump handled it very well. I loved his response when she said something about, well, Trump, you've been derogatory and demeaning toward women by calling them fat and pigs and that kind of thing. And he didn't miss a beat, and he said, I was talking about Rosie O'Donnell.
Only Rosie, he says. Yeah.
And that plays right into the base. I mean, what good self-respecting Republican thinks anything but negatively about Rosie O'Donnell? And, so Fox kind of played into Trump's hands. He's further continuing to be able to build his support among conservatives and Republicans based on the gotcha question that Megyn handed to him.
But you know what? What happened to the real problems that are plaguing the United States? We have the problem with ISIS. They didn't even go near him with that one. There were so many other things that were happening that they negated him from the entire conversation, and it was pretty damn bad.
Well, certainly the ISIS, the threat, and the president's poor performance in dealing with global terrorism probably warranted more attention during the debate. But look, the Fox certainly had its hands full in trying to manage 10 different candidates in an hour-and-a-half long debate, and trying to get to anything substantive is next to impossible. And quite frankly, unfortunately, the American people aren't looking for that, because they want the soundbite journalism, and they want the quick response. And if a candidate got up there and started actually outlining a detailed plan, number one, Fox would probably pull his microphone, and if they didn't, viewers would quit watching, and no one would pay attention to him. So, we live in a society that's driven by sound bites and zingers in these formats.
It just felt like they were trying to instigate fights amongst the candidates, and I have to say, I'm fairly proud of the candidates for not falling into that. The only one that really did was more or less Rand Paul.
Yeah, Rand Paul and Chris Christie had a couple of little moments there, didn't they?
They had a good exchange.
Yeah.
And Trump had a little, I loved it when he said something to Rand Paul that, no, you didn't hear me right. You're not having a good night tonight.
Right. Well, they kept quoting him wrong.
Good.
Right,
that
they kept
cool.
quoting him wrong. So, I thought that one was appropriate. But
to
Ben
your
Carson.
Point, I'm sorry, Kimberly. But to your point, when you were saying they were going about sound bites, I think a lot of these debates in the past, they're looking for that 10 or 15 second sound bite for the evening news. Last night, it felt like Fox News and TMZ bring you the presidential debate.
Yeah.
It was almost like a cheapening of the forum.
That's exactly
very much
it.
So.
Well, having worked in the medium of news talk radio for many years, you think that way as a programmer. You watch the debates and you think, okay, I can use that tomorrow. I can use that tomorrow. So you kind of expect and coach and goad the candidates into doing that.
Well, absolutely. I wrote a column for the Tribune that'll be in Sunday's paper about the debate, and there were so many great quotes. I mean, the challenge for me in writing my column this morning was, where do you stop? I could have kept going, and there was just a wealth of great stuff there as a journalist or a columnist, and yet as a voter and a concerned citizen, you look at it and you go, this is why we're in such trouble, because there's really no substantive discussion of the issues. I guess you can tune into C-SPAN for that kind of thing. But, quite frankly, C-SPAN's ratings aren't nearly what Fox's are they?
Well, after this, I'm not sure what the ratings will be, but Ben Carson was kind of a surprise yesterday, at least for me.
He did well.
I just really love him. I think he speaks from the heart, and kind of like Trump, he's not overly produced or
Polished
glossed
politician,
over.
yeah.
Marco Rubio, I think, says a lot of nice things, but I think he's too much a politician.
Yeah, we're just about out of time, and I know Doc could talk about this forever. Chris, in the last 10 seconds of the break, winners, losers in your minds?
The big winner last night was John Kasich. He barely made the cut. He just entered the race a few weeks ago. He's a former congressman and currently governor of Ohio. I think he did a phenomenal job demonstrating himself as the alternative to all of the others there. I think he's viable. He's mainstream. He's moderate. And he really showed himself as one of the true adults on the stage last night.
Well, thank you for joining us. Chris Ingram, president of 411 Communications, political analyst for Bay News 9, and contributing columnist to the Tampa Tribune. Thank you for taking part in American Medicine Today.
Thanks, brother.
My pleasure. Thanks.
Have a good one.
Thanks.
Well, that about wraps it up. Make sure you watch us on WFTS ABC 28, Saturdays at 7, and Saturdays and Sundays on Bloomberg. Check your local listings. See you.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonati created, perfected, and patented the Bonati spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonati invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonati spine procedures, they consistently reflect over 94% patient satisfaction. 45,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Nearly half our patients suffer from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonati succeeds where others fail.
This is the first time that I am pain-free after 18 years. And it's just wonderful. I love it.
Phenomenal results. No pain whatsoever.
My pain is virtually gone. Nothing short of a miracle.
Those surgeries gave me my life back.
Already, I feel like a new person.
I'm going home new. I can chase my grandbaby now. I can garden. I can cook. And I'm really thrilled. The outcome's been remarkable.
I feel 100% better.
It's like a miracle.
It was phenomenal. It literally did change my life.
I was in a wheelchair at that time, and I left here walking.
Every single pain that I had when I came here is gone.
I'm ready to go home and feel great. This place is great. Thank you.
Everything that they said they would do, they have done, and I'm very, very satisfied and happy with those results.
I knew in surgery, in fact, I told the surgeon when he relieved the pain off the nerve.
The pain is gone. I'm feeling wonderful.
I have no pain. I feel better than I felt in 4 years from the surgery. It was almost immediate relief.
Today I am totally pain-free, which is just amazing. It's fantastic.
It definitely works. I mean, I really don't know what else to tell you. I'm happy.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonati created, perfected, and patented the Bonati spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonati invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonati spine procedures, they consistently reflect over 94% patient satisfaction. 45,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Nearly half our patients suffer from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonati succeeds where others fail.